Just for those of you who are waiting, Ben Ross, yes, it is being recorded and it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel probably within a day or so from the end of today's webinar. All right, it is 10:03. I think we are going to get started because we have a lot of really good quality information to get through today. So just for those of you who've joined before, you've heard me say all this, but for those of you who are new joining us today, I just want to give you a little bit of information. I am with SCORE. SCORE is a national entity that is sponsored by the SBA, and we help small businesses. We offer free mentoring to small businesses around the country. I am with the Monmouth County chapter, but we do have SCORE chapters all around the country. And as I said, we are sponsored by the SBA, offering free business mentoring to small businesses. So if you are a small business owner, which you probably are being on this webinar, if you ever have any questions or you need any kind of help or guidance or mentorship, please reach out to us at our website, monmouth.score.org. You can request a mentor. We have a wealth of knowledgeable mentors that are with us. Also, if you're a small business owner and you feel that you could be a valuable mentor, please do help. We are 100% volunteers. So we're always looking for people who can help us with mentorship. So again, reach out to us. All the information is on our website. A little bit of housekeeping about today's webinar. So we cannot see you and we cannot hear you. You can see us and we're going to be sharing our screens. But if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A function. Freeholder Kiley is going to go through the presentation. Enter your questions, as many as you have. There is no silly question. We want to help as many people as we possibly can answering questions. So put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Again, Q&A is much easier for us because it helps us to monitor and make sure we get to all the questions. So that would be better for us instead of the chat function. And with that, I am going to hand over to Freeholder Sue Kiley. She's going to talk to us about Monmouth County Cares and the grants that we have available to small businesses in Monmouth County. Over to you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. This started out as a discussion with your CARES mentors who felt it was important for all of you to hear about the program and make sure that you're taking advantage of it. We are coming to the end of this program, so it's very important that if you want to apply for a grant that you do it quickly. And thus, the information you will have today should help you do that. The Monmouth County CARES grant, we applied for this. And because we're a very large county, the federal government awarded us a lot of money to be able to do grants within Monmouth County. And those grants were for a couple of entities. First, we started with municipalities. And municipalities would submit all of their COVID-related expenses, and they are reimbursed for those with this CARES money. It's federal money. The next thing we did was open it up to small businesses and make sure that we could not solve all your problems, but at least contribute to helping you hang on through this difficult time. The first grant was for $10,000. It's a grant, it's not a loan. You don't have to pay it back. And then the second round was for another $10,000. So if you've never submitted an application, you can now submit an application for up to $20,000 in expenses that are related to COVID. And we're going to go through what all of those are. The other thing we did that we took a little bit of criticism for, so I'll mention it and explain why we did it. We contracted with a professional grant administration and program management company called Solix. And the reason we did that is because they had been very successful in running these grant programs in other counties. And we wanted to make sure that we had the very best on this and that we could turn around your applications quickly and get you your money quickly. And that is exactly what has happened. We've given out close to $30 million in money to our small businesses since the start of this program. And we're very proud of the fact that we've been able to turn that money around so quickly. We originally allocated $10 million to, I said 30,000, I meant 30 million, sorry. We originally allotted $10 million to the program for the small businesses, and then we expanded it to an amount of $30 million so that we could make sure that we're able to satisfy as many of these applications as possible. The Monmouth County CARES grant program provides financial reimbursement, as I said, up to $20,000 for those qualified businesses, business owners, and nonprofits that have not exceeded $5 million in annual gross revenue, and they are experiencing costly interruptions in their business as a result of COVID. Now, I'm going to go through several pieces of information, but I'm going to show you, if we've been trying to share the screen. So if I'm able to share my screen, I will show you the website that you go to fill out your application, and then I'll just show you a couple of other things. I'm going to try and get to a document now, if I can, that talks through the things that I'm actually saying, and then we'll share that in the chat so that you have it after the webinar has completed. So let me see if I can find it. I will show you this first. Now, hopefully, can you see my screen?
Yep, it's here.
Okay, great. So hopefully you can see my screen. And this is just some basic housekeeping stuff that you're going to need after this is finished. MonmouthCountyCares.com. That is the website you're going to go to in order to fill out your application for your grants. Visit Monmouth.com. That's where you're going to access the Monmouth Act program, which we can talk about in a minute. It's where you can access a COVID guide. A lot of people are looking for resources they can access, and the Financial Recovery Initiative. We'll talk about those after we talk about the grant, because the grant is really why we're here today. The Financial Recovery Initiative is part of Monmouth Act, and it is for residents who have never accessed the system before, but all of a sudden find themselves either unemployed or struggling to put food on their tables, or they have housing issues. That's a warm line you can call to talk to a person to help you through those issues. So again, this is housekeeping stuff that I wanted you to have for after the webinar. Monmouth Act is the main program where you'll find financial recovery, and I'll explain that in a minute. This is my contact information. I am the Deputy Director of the Monmouth County Freeholders. You have my cell phone number and you have my office number. Nicole Policia is my confidential aide, and she most likely will pick up the office number if you call. She's extremely knowledgeable and will point you in the right direction. As of January 1, the name Freeholder is changing to Commissioner. So if you call the line and you hear Monmouth County Commissioner, you have not reached the wrong number. You have reached the new name of the Freeholders. And my email is there as well, so that you can access me that way. Now, I have another Word document that I would like to show you. So let me see if I am able to get to it. Here we go. Okay. Can everyone see this document? Claire, can you see it?
No, it's still the same document that you had.
Okay.
Maybe stop screen share and then.
All right, let's stop screen share and try it again. This is Claire and I were trying to do this earlier and we had a little bit of trouble with it. So let's see. Let's try it again. How is it now?
Yep, can see it perfectly now.
Okay, great. So this is all of the basic information that you're going to need to be able to apply for one of the grants. As I mentioned in bullet number 1, the company is named Solix. So when you go to MonmouthCountyCares.com, you're going to see that it's a Solix organization that's manning that site and responding to those applications. We talked about the initial allocation of money and the fact that we expanded it. We've also, just for your information, have expanded CARES money to 501c3s. We've opened it up to schools for autistic children in the county. We've opened it to the arts. So there are other categories of people that we've been able to help with this CARES money. We have until the end of December to use this money. And if we don't use it by the end of December, it either goes to the state or it goes back to the feds. And we really don't want that to happen. We want that to go to Monmouth County entities which is what it's designed for. Okay. As I said, it's up to $20,000 for qualified businesses and business owners. And I'll show you some of the criteria. If I move this, can you see me moving it, Claire?
Yes, I can see you moving it. Yep.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure everybody can see it. So I'm sorry, I don't do many webinars, so I want to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So in order to qualify for the CARES Economic Assistance Grant, small businesses and business owners must be physically located in Monmouth County since January 1 of 2020 or earlier. Now, some people said to me, well, what about if I started my business in February of 2020? If you took over an existing business and can show that that business has been around, you're fine. You know, if you started a new business in September of 2020 and it was brand new and it was never a business in Monmouth County, I would still tell you to submit an application, but you may not be approved because it's such a young business. But I don't want anyone to not submit an application. I think it's worth asking. And you're going to see there are phone numbers and information that we can give you if you have questions after you submit. You have to have been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So that means that you've spent money for protective gear. You've had to close your business. You're paying rent for a building you can't use. You know, anything that has impacted you as it relates to the COVID pandemic is going to qualify as reimbursable under this grant. 5 million or less in gross revenue annually, and 50 or fewer full-time equivalents, or 50 or fewer FTEs, including the owner, as of March 1, 2020. So that's the criteria. I've had people ask me, well, you know, how small a business can apply? There's no such thing. There are some 501c3s that have no revenue annually, but they've had to spend quite a bit of money because they have to buy protective gear. They can submit and get reimbursed. For nonprofit organizations, again, physically located in Monmouth County since January 1 or earlier, provides a public service to beneficiaries residing in Monmouth County. You're negatively impacted by COVID-19, and you're registered with the IRS, and you can see those 501c3, C4, and C6, limited to local and regional chambers of commerce, and C19. And you may be a local affiliate of a larger state or national organization, but you're submitting for your local organization. You would qualify as well. Let's talk about what's potentially reimbursable. That's the next bullet. Potentially eligible reimbursement expenses include supplies, goods that are not part of the company's sellable merchandise, you know, disinfectants, special cleaning equipment, protective barriers, social distancing markers, anything like that. Technology costs of converting in-person business operations. So a new merchant payment services, website enhancements. Cost to deliver goods to customers has changed as a result of COVID. Your personal costs, for example, payroll costs, temporary staff training that you have to do. Property expenses while the business is closed. So if you have rent that you're paying and your business has been closed, or utilities or security services, that is all reimbursable under the CARES Act. If you own your building, we won't pay a mortgage payment, but we'll pay interest on that mortgage payment. And establishment of any temporary sites or conversions of facilities as a result of COVID. It is important to note that the grant funding cannot be used for reimbursements already made. So if you've already submitted for a PPE grant or a PPP grant and you've received money, that's great, but you cannot resubmit for the same expenses. You can submit for additional expenses or expenses that occurred after you received that money. The grant application is easy. I've heard many people tell me that when they got on the site and they submitted, you know, the information that was requested so that they could get the grant. So let's see, I'm trying to follow along on this document, and then I'm going to give you the document. And if I'm able to, I'm going to show you where the website is. The grant application process is easy. Upon receipt of the application and the required documents, and you're going to see what they are when you go on the site, each applicant will be reviewed for completeness and eligibility. Applicants will be notified if their application is incomplete. They will be allowed 7 business days from the incomplete application notification to submit the missing information and finish the application. There's also a line, a phone number you can call if you have questions or you're not sure whether or not you would qualify. You can get online and find that out. A lot of the businesses, or all of the businesses that are eligible for this grant, are based on business codes that have been given to us as approved codes. Now, originally, no medical codes, like no medical offices, were okay to submit for this because there was other money coming to them from other sources. That has changed. I had a chiropractor that's a friend of mine call me the other day and say, can I submit? He's an independent small business. And I told him, do it, submit, have us tell you no, rather than assume that you're going to be told no. And in this particular case, he's a small business, he meets the criteria, and he was approved, and he did get grant money. So don't assume that you're not going to get it. Assume that you are. And then if you're not, we'll tell you that. It's a very easy application to fill out. You're better off to fill it out and try and get reimbursement for your COVID expenses. And then if we can't do it, we'll tell you that. The application portal is easy to find. It's www.monmouthcountycares.com. Now, I have to tell you, there is an organization called Monmouth Cares. That is not this. This is monmouthcountycares.com. If you go to the other website, you'll get very frustrated. You'll find great information. It's a great organization, but you won't find a grant application. As I said, there's a lot of information. It tells you how to apply, what your eligible expenses are, and the application process. And you'll see on here listed the phone number you can call in order to get additional information if you've gone through the process and you're struggling in any way. Here, as I said, we're coming to the end of this process. And in spite of the fact that we've done press conferences just about every 2 weeks, we've blasted this information through the media, we've blasted it through social media, and still today, people are not aware that the program exists. So that's one of the reasons for this webinar. We do not have much more time before the program will end. So on the 16th, as of the 16th, which was this past Wednesday, we've received 3,829 applications from businesses and nonprofits, and we've dispersed over $30 million and still are dispersing more. We will allocate more money towards small businesses so that we can satisfy every application that qualifies. But the last day for small businesses and nonprofits to submit the grant applications to the county is December 23rd, and that's coming fast. So I urge you to finish this webinar and get online and submit your applications so that we can be certain that anyone who is eligible to get this money gets it. That's really, really important. I'm going to try, as I said, I'll send this document into the chat so that you have it. And I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to try to share the actual website if I can get to it. Let me see. And I apologize for this. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. I'm not sure it's going to let me. Now, Claire, we tried this earlier and it wouldn't let me share it, but it let you share it. Oh, here. Okay, here we go. Can you see this now? This is
yep.
This is okay. Good.
Now it's working.
Good. So if you look at this at the top, at the very top of this page, you can see it says solixconsulting.force.com. Don't worry about typing any of that in. If you type in monmouthcountycares.com, it'll take you to this page. And this is the entire application process. And you can see very clearly that by end of day on the 23rd, the program ends. And believe me when I tell you, we want Monmouth County to take advantage of as much of this money as is humanly possible. We don't want to give any back. We deserve it. We've worked hard. Our businesses have been tremendously impacted by COVID, and we want to make sure that you take advantage of the money that's out there for you. Same message is going to the municipalities to submit their final applications, to the arts, to the schools, and to everyone else that we've opened this program up to. We want to make sure we use this money. So as I said, this is very easy. You follow the steps. Here's step one, the welcome, program requirements, the organizational information that you'll have to submit, the business and contact information. And as I said, this is going to step you through the entire process. If you have any questions whatsoever, and it says we've dedicated 25 million, we've already given out over 30 million, and there is more money to be had. The maximum you can submit for is $20,000 in the grant. The program requirements that we just talked about and went through are here. The categories are here. There are certain categories that are not included. Adult entertainment organizations are not included. Vape and head shop organizations are not included. So that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'm sure there might be some questions. I would like to show you, if I can, how to get to other resources, but I'm not sure it's going to let me. I'm going to try. Now, I just switched over to another website. Can you see it?
Sorry, I had you muted. Yes, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay, great. So it is working. So this is the general Monmouth County website. And this is where you're going to find a lot of other information that's going to help you as an individual or as a business if you need assistance as it relates to, you know, housing, food, resources, anything that you might need during COVID. And the only reason I show it to you is because I want to make sure you know it's here. It's visitmonmouth.com is how you get to it. And that's on the little cheat sheet that I will put into your chat. On this website is very valuable information that all of you can use, whether in your business or for the people that work for you, to help them get any assistance they need. Just unemployment is higher in our county than it has ever been. And people are on unemployment that might otherwise have very high paying jobs and be very successful. And all of a sudden they find themselves unemployed and they don't know benefits that are available to them that we've all been paying for, you know, that are available to you when you need them. And there's no shame in asking for help. So Monmouth Act is right here. Monmouth Acts is the organization that the county put together to be able to, I'm going to click on it. I hope it opens. Let's see if it does. It says it's trying to open, so hopefully it is. But let me just tell you about it. Monmouth Acts is an organization that we created in the county, which is a partnership between local providers of services and the county. And together we work to be able to make sure that all of our communities can find all of the services they need when they need service. And that goes from, as you can see on, I hope you can see the page, but it goes from early childhood resources all the way to successful aging, to homelessness. And one of the keys is making sure we communicate so people know the resources that are available and how to access them. The newest initiative, which was created because of COVID specifically, is the Financial Recovery Initiative. And it was created so that we could be able to help our residents who might not otherwise access services know how to find them and how to access them. This is all going to be on your cheat sheet. I'm going to show you a little bit by showing you this. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to find Financial Recovery Network. And somebody ding me if you can't see what I'm doing here, because it's hard to tell.
We can see what you're doing.
Great. Okay. So the Financial Recovery Network opens up this page and it shows you all of the different areas where you can get help if you need it. So for example, if someone needs income tax assistance in this crazy, crazy time we're in, or financial coaching, or workforce development training, you know, there are grant monies available to train into a new area if you need it. That everything is listed here, and all you have to do is click on it. Let me do housing, and all of these resources will open up. These are all of the people in the network that are working with us to be able to deliver information and service to anyone who calls or needs help. You know, a lot of people don't know how to use a website, right? So we also have the warm line that I spoke about that you can call, and you can speak to a live person who will direct you to any area where you think you could use some help. And that goes for you, that goes for your employees, that goes for anyone you know that might need some help. And it's important that I mean, today obviously is about the grant, making sure that you qualify for it and you get it and you get the money that you're entitled to. But I also want you to know that there's a lot more there that can help you or help your employees that are in need. And it's all listed right here on this website. You can see this is for nutrition assistance. We have a lot of child resources for childcare. Let me go further up. I think I missed. Yep, this is housing assistance. As I said, it's all there and it's all available to you and to your employees, or to anyone you know for that matter, that might need some help and doesn't know how to access the system. So I feel like I dumped a whole lot of information, and that's basically the program. I am happy to take any and all questions and see what we can do to make sure that you get this money that you're entitled to.
All right, thank you so much, Sue. So we have a few questions. Some of them you covered and I answered them as you were going, but some of them either I didn't catch the answer or I wasn't sure. So I'm going to I'll read them out in order. The first question was, can you apply for the grant if you're in development, meaning you don't have any income yet, but you have employees and other expenses?
My honest answer is I'm not sure, but what I would tell you is to apply. You know, definitely get online and apply for it, and then if you for any reason are not sure, you call the phone number, you talk to a Solix consultant, you explain your circumstances, and they will tell you if you're eligible or not.
I guess the key kind of premise to any of these answers is going to be, is if you're unsure, apply anyway, right? It doesn't hurt to apply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want anyone to assume they're not eligible, because they may be. And, you know, why not? It's a very easy application process, and there's a phone number for a resource. So why not?
Absolutely. And then the next question was, we know that nonprofit entities are eligible, but what about organizations that have religious affiliations, such as churches, etc.? Are they eligible?
Yeah, churches are not at this point. They fall into a different category, and right now are not eligible to apply for a grant under this program. There are other resources, there are other programs that we're working on to be able to help those entities, but right now they do not fall into this category or this grant.
Okay. In the online application, which category should you choose for Zoom subscriptions?
Wow. That's a great question. It is definitely an expense we've all incurred as a result of the COVID, but I would have to, I'm guessing it's communication, but I would have to call and ask, or I'd have to look through the application myself. Okay. I am not a small business owner, so I have not submitted an application myself.
Okay. So If is there any? What if you got a PPP loan, or you even got a PPP loan forgiven? Is there any impact there? Is there any relevance or crossover between the two?
Not at all. I mean, here's the thing. If you've submitted expenses and received reimbursement on a PPP loan, that's great. You can't submit those expenses a second time. You can submit additional expenses, absolutely, but you can't submit those a second time.
Okay.
Let me just talk about one more thing. The government, the federal government, has the right to audit any and all of these applications. So I'll give you an example. We had a municipality, a couple of municipalities that were submitting expenses for new ambulances because of the fact that they had to make modifications to the equipment in order to be able to use it for COVID patients. That was not approved. And so now it's kind of a red flag. So I think, if other entities are submitting that kind of an expense, they will probably be audited. So don't put anything in that you think is going to cause you to be audited. Legitimate, real expenses that you have not gotten reimbursed for by another program, by all means, put them in.
Don't double dip, in other words.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So if you file an application today, but perhaps you need more time to get some of the things the grant needs, documents and tax returns, etc., how does that work?
You'll see when you get on and fill out the application, you'll see that you have to let them know if you have more to, or they probably will send you a message saying that your application is not complete and that you have to add the additional information to complete it. Everything has to be in by the 23rd.
Okay.
So I would recommend anyone that's going to apply, do it sooner rather than later. If you're missing information, you have time to get it.
So back to the PPP loan, another question about that. So if your PPP loan has not been forgiven, but you think it probably will be, you shouldn't apply. But if if you don't think your full PPP loan will be forgiven, then you can apply because you may not be double dipping. Is that kind of a good rule?
Well, I'll tell you my question. My question would be, why do you think your PPP loan is not going to be forgiven? And if it's not going to be forgiven, I would have my assumption, and I could be wrong. My assumption would be that you're submitting expenses that are not COVID related. And if that's the case, it probably wouldn't be approved for this grant either. So just be careful about what you're submitting.
Okay. And then what is the relevant period for the expenses? For example, the rent for an unused building, is that for 1 month or for all months the building is unused?
All months. All months the building has been closed or has not been in use. Even if you have your building open, but you're not getting the volume of business because people are not coming out, they're not submit it.
And should you estimate future rents to be included if your building is still closed?
No. You're going to be reimbursed for anything that is real expense up until the end of this program. I wish we could go into, we've asked for extensions on this. I wish we could go into January of next year or February. We cannot. It has to be, expenses that you have incurred.
Okay, so not future expenses, just existing expenses.
No, believe me, we'd love that too, but that's not the program.
Okay, what about if you're the owner of a licensed healthcare service firm which provides home care to patients without a facility with residents and they don't have doctors? Are they eligible?
I believe so, but that depends on what code their business falls under. And that's a question you would ask those Solex consultants, and they would look up the codes and tell you if you're eligible or not.
Okay. What was the deadline for the first grant? So you don't count expenses twice. So that, in other words, if someone applied for the first grant and that was completed, then they can look at the expenses just after that date to submit this grant. Do you know?
If you've already submitted a grant, then you know the date you put in, and you know the date, up to what date you submitted for. there was no cutoff for the first grant. So for example, people that submitted for the grant day one that the program was available, they may have had $20,000 worth of expenses and they submitted it. If that's the case, they've probably already been notified that they're going to be getting additional money because they submitted requests for reimbursement for over and above the 10,000.
Got
If
it.
you know what I'm saying? Like if you've submitted for the first portion of the grant and you were able to get $10,000, but you have more expense, I think most business owners know what they submitted for and then just submit for what happened after that.
And then sort of relevant to that, somebody has said they submitted an application with expenses in excess of 20,000 during phase one. And so they were told, this is kind of what we just said, but it's just a different question. There was no need to reapply, that they would be automatically considered for the additional 10,000. But she said that was on November 5th and she hasn't heard anything since. So I guess that's a question for Solix.
Yeah, I would call them and I would ask for some information on where the application stands. You know, I would want to know if all of the expenses were approved and, you know, that they were approved expenses and where is my check, basically.
Got it. Then can you apply for lower sales and income? So rather than being closed, you still had to remain open, but you know, your sales and your income was completely impacted by COVID. Is that considered an expense or is that just not relevant here?
You know, there's a big question about lost revenue, what you might have had versus what you actually had. It is a gray area. And I think, you know, it warrants a discussion with Solix. But typically, if you're projecting, I would have, could have, and I didn't, unless you have some documentation from previous, like a time frame where this is what my business did here and this is what it's doing now, they may make allowances for that. So you know, my answer to everything is why not? You know, submit an application, make the phone call, ask the question.
Okay. Do you happen to know if there's any other grants like this available statewide, specifically Bergen County?
You know what? I know that the state has a program because a friend of mine that's a business owner applied for it. I don't have a contact for you. I wish I did, but I think you could call the Economic Development Organization for the state and you should be able to get information. I'll warn you in advance. He told me that the application was very complicated and he struggled with it. But he said that there was one for other money available. So by all means, I would look into it.
Okay. What about a small real estate appraisal company? I'm not actually sure what the question is, but I think the question is probably, is it applicable, you know, to apply, you know, for this?
Yeah. I'm not, you know, I am not the resident expert. I wish I was. I, again, would make the call and I would ask the question. You know, I mean, like I said, I had a chiropractor friend of mine call and say, well, I haven't applied yet because I'm not eligible. I said, how do you know? I mean, big medical entities, hospitals, you know, large practices, no, they're not eligible because they do have other sources of funding. But a small practice, you know, and he called and he was eligible and he did submit an application and he did get the money.
So somebody's asking, what's the phone number for Solix? Is that the 6838959 number?
I believe it's here. Where is it? I don't see it on that. Well, let me go to next. Let me see if it's on the next page. Well, this talks about, so here you go. This is more information about eligible reimbursable expenses. So there's a lot of good information there. Application process, and there you go. There's the phone number at the bottom.
Okay,
so it's 732-375-2196.
So somebody submitted an application with copies of 2018 and 2019 990Ns to verify their tax information. Is that acceptable?
My guess is yes, it is acceptable. And if it's not, you're going to get a question back from Solex asking for additional information.
Okay. And then if I had to close my chiropractic office for 3 months previously and I'm still catching up on bills, does that qualify now, even though the office is open since May?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
You would probably be able to get reimbursement for March and April. For anything that any time that your office was not open because of the COVID pandemic.
Okay.
And for that matter, you might be able to get some reimbursement for May if there was a significant drop off in business as a result of the pandemic. And again, that's a question that I would ask. I'll tell you honestly, the response that we've gotten from business owners that have used the system, have called in to ask questions, is that the people on the other end of the line have been very cooperative, very helpful, and that the process has been very easy.
Yeah, I think the key thing is it's funny if you think about like just human nature in general. We all think that we as humans and business owners, I think we think that when we're applying for a grant that the initiative is out to deny it, and you have to do everything completely correctly and sort of tiptoe around. I think that's how we just feel as humans. So, and it seems like, with this, that's not the case, right? Monmouth County wants to give out the money. We're trying hard to kind of make sure that everybody qualifies as much as they can. And it sounds like Solex is doing a great job of that.
Yeah, and I tell you that I speak for all of the freeholders when I tell you we do not want to have to give any money back to the federal government. We want residents of Monmouth County to take advantage of the money that's there and has been allocated for us.
Yeah, so that's the key thing for everybody, like on this webinar. Just apply, call Solex. I'm going to keep going through the questions, but it's just sort of dawned on me, as we're talking. Apply, ask the questions, call Solex. Monmouth County wants to give the money to you as small businesses if it possibly can. So apply, I think is the key here.
And now I'm just looking at this application, what you will need, and it specifically says tax returns for 18 and 19 if filed.
Yeah. So the lady who was asking about the if I applied and my expenses were over 20,000, do I automatically get the applications redone? I think so, Lisa. I think you have to call Solex and ask them. It sounds like it should be, but does that sound right, Sue?
Absolutely. I know that they, as I said, they've gotten quite a few applications, and I want to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So I wouldn't wait. I would call them, identify who you are, what your business is, the fact that you've submitted an application. They may have disqualified some of the things you submitted. I honestly don't know, but you should definitely make the call. What they're trying to do is if you submitted an application that went over the original 10, but it was all reimbursable, they're trying to proactively send out the additional money to the businesses that have already applied. But like I said, I would, if it were my business, I'd call and I'd make sure that I'm on the radar.
Okay. Then the question is, and I think it's a similar question, but the maximum available amount is 20,000. If your application is for X amount and that amount is denied, will they approve it for the lesser amount or will it be denied completely?
No, they'll approve it for the lesser amount. So I know people have submitted applications and gotten like $3,000 or $5,000 because the expenses that they submitted up to that point were approved.
Okay. What if the business is registered in another county, but the business operates in Monmouth County and the address was never updated?
I don't know about that one. I honestly don't know. I'm saying this too many times, I think. I wish I was the expert on all of this, but I am the messenger to make sure that you take advantage of it. And that's another question that I would have to ask them.
Okay. I think Solix is going to be getting a lot of calls this afternoon.
Well, they've gotten a lot of calls and they've been very responsive. I mean, if anyone is trying to get through and not getting a response, then by all means, please let me know, and we will see if we can get you an answer.
Then another, oh no, that's the same question. How can I find out the date I submitted for the first grant in phase 1?
I would imagine you would probably have that information yourself, but they should also have recorded it when they received your first application.
I mean, I would say probably things like search emails, etc., because I would imagine the email, you get an email when you can submit the applications, etc. So perhaps search old emails and
that's true.
Yeah, things like that, I would imagine would be the quickest way to do it.
Yeah.
What about gig workers? So traveling shows that are cancelled as well as corporate shows, would they qualify?
I don't know.
All right, so those
I wish I could stop using that phrase, but
it's no, you know what, it's great. I think it's still, it doesn't matter if we don't know the specific answers, because there's an avenue for people to be able to reach out and ask those questions. So I think
that's the key. The key is that you know where to go to get the answers. I was surprised that so many people weren't aware of the grant and that it was available, and that's why this was so important, to make sure that you know how to access the information, how to fill out an application, and how to get your questions answered. That was the real key for me.
Yeah, that's great. And then there's a question. I have a store that I haven't been able to open since March, and I have inventory that's been damaged and building repairs that need to be made. Can I submit for estimated repairs and inventory loss?
Inventory loss, you might be able to submit. Anything that you're planning on doing after you open is probably not going to be a reimbursable expense, but like the rent you paid or the business you lost, those are the things you're going to be able to talk to them about getting reimbursement for. If you're going to, in other words, you're going to do some new repairs on your building after the fact, I don't think that they would approve that, because that's something you might do whether COVID existed or not. And I'm guessing. I answer the same way all the time. Call the experts and ask them if you explain the specifics of your, your specific business situation, you may find that it is reimbursable.
And I think as well that just touching on something that a question somebody asked earlier, which was if you apply for too much money, they're not going to deny your entire application. They'll just reduce it to what is allowable. So I think the key may also be, if it's a question, submit the expense, right? It's submitted as something that you want. And, if it's not allowed, it won't be allowed, but it won't impact the rest of your application. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
If in doubt, apply. Just know that if it gets granted and then it's something that, perhaps you've already been, funded for elsewhere, you may be subject to an audit, but if in doubt, apply.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Would the grant cover lost revenue or only expenses incurred? I think we've already answered that one.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good question. This is actually from our chapter chair of SCORE Monmouth. Will you be sharing future grants with SCORE so that we can sort of advise all of our customers of those?
Certainly. I mean, now that we've found each other, we will continue to communicate.
Okay, that's wonderful. Then we have, I have a couple of questions that have gone into the chat. Let me see if I can here's one. I'm a mobile business and depend highly on outdoor gatherings. I did receive 10,000 from NJEDA, but do I still qualify?
Yes, I think you should qualify and you should submit an application.
Okay. Then to Tara, yes, we're going to put this video, we're going to put this onto YouTube, a replay of this onto YouTube, so you will be able to see it again. And we're also going to share some of the documents that Sue has shared on her screen today as well.
I'm going to see if I can stop sharing my screen and start putting things into the chat so that you have them.
I did put the contact information that you put into the chat, just so you know, I typed it in.
Perfect. I think, that's probably the most important document because that's got all of the avenues to get to where you need to be to submit the grants.
And then, hang on, just scrolling up. And then someone said, I had 6 of my clients apply, 5 got the 10,000 and all of them between the lost business and rent, so other expenses were not needed. So I guess that's a key comment, right? So it's a $10,000 cap. So you may find that that they're applying even if you had already had other grants, since then your business expenses still continue to go. So you'll have more expenses to apply for.
Yes. A friend of mine, when the program first came out and I told him it was 10,000, said my monthly rent is 10,000. So, the program is not designed to solve all the problems. The program is designed to try and provide some help for businesses. But now that it's been expanded to 20,000, obviously he's going to submit again and we'll get another $10,000 to give him a little bit of help.
Somebody's just asking, what is the NJEDA grant that someone just mentioned? And I think the key thing, sorry for my dogs barking in the background. I think the key thing is probably just to Google that. There is some information about it on Google. It's quite easy to find.
Agreed. I wouldn't want to talk more about something that's not part of our program. I'd rather you look up and get good information.
Exactly. Right. Though I think those are all the questions that I see on here. So if anybody has any other questions, feel free to quickly put them in. So if you have anything else you want to add, maybe we can do it.
Basically, I really just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to all of your businesses. And as I said, I really hope that you have time and energy to submit an application and get some reimbursement. The other thing is, one of my big pet peeves, and when I joined the Freeholder board, it was my big pet peeve. When I came into the Freeholder role, my impression was Monmouth County doesn't have nearly enough resources for our residents. And I was very, very wrong. But the problem is that the communication is not what I would like it to be. A lot of people don't understand what's out there or how to access it. And that's a huge pet peeve of mine. That's one of the reasons that Monmouth Act was created, so that no matter what organization you went to, it wasn't the wrong door. You could find everything you needed by just going to one place. So this is an organization I did not know about. So clearly, I've not done a good job communicating to all of you through your organization. That's my mission. I want to do better at communicating with everyone. So if there are other organizations you're a part of that say, we need to hear this too, let us know. And I will do anything and everything I can to make sure that we communicate effectively about the programs available.
We appreciate that. That's from SCORE and from our behalf, that we really appreciate that. That helps us with our customers. And it's not unique to you, like getting the word out about these things. We always say, we have a kind of a little saying that we say within SCORE Monmouth, which is we are the best kept secret in Monmouth County.
I agree.
So if, as organizations, and just to add to what Sue just said, as organizations, if anybody is a member of another organization, we are all here to help each other. So share details about SCORE, share details about the Freeholders offices and Monmouth County Cares, etc. Because if we don't share this information between us as small business owners, we're all in this together. Even pre-COVID, right? We're in this together as small business owners. So we want to be able to share that information as much as possible. And then I have 3 questions, and they're all basically the same question that just came in, which is, can we see this webinar again, or are we able to see the bullet points of the meeting? It will be on our YouTube channel. We'll get it up on our YouTube channel as quickly as possible. And I will try and share the document that Sue has shared with us today. I'll try and get that emailed out to everybody who attended this as well, so that you have it. But also remember the key points are on the Monmouth County Cares website. I think anything you need, phone numbers for Solix, etc., they are there, and it sounds like they're eager to give us small business owners money. So we really should try to apply as much as possible for any money that's available to us to keep us up and running in business. It's so important, to take advantage of the opportunities there. I think then, just to wrap it up, unless Sue, you have anything else, just to wrap it up, a reminder to talk about SCORE, tell your friends, tell other business owners about SCORE. We are here to help. We are free. We offer business mentoring. We offer webinars, informational webinars on a frequent basis. And we're also always looking for volunteers and mentors to help us as well with our customers. So if you either want to become a customer of SCORE or you feel that you can help us in mentoring other small businesses, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Again, Sue, thank you so much for your information today. It was really, really valuable. We appreciate it. And everybody, on that note, have a great weekend, and we will see you on our next webinar. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.